There's like a wall between us.
Yeah, you know, like...
Who are you? You are? No.
My name is Ruari. I just graduated from doing music at Cambridge. I went to Girton College.
First of all, what is your expectations that you had versus what you found out when you got in?
I guess you kind of always assume a course at Cambridge is going to be quite traditional. I thought it was going to be very hard and rigorous, but very in-depth. And I kind of had been warned by people of the more traditional sides of it and the kind of harder practical stuff, like keyboard skills or anything like that. Everyone kind of talks about it as like a joke. When I got there, I was like, oh wow, this is a really lot to handle, not just in terms of the amount of work, because in first year it was super intense. We were having the equivalent of like 3 or 4 essays a week with loads of harmony work and analysis and everything. So yeah, it was a lot to take in, both because there's so much work, but also the content of the work was very different to the stuff I'd done before. I come from not a particularly classical background. I, played a lot of jazz and was in bands and really liked popular music, and the course didn't cover any of that, and it kind of felt like we weren't ever going to cover any of that. When we moved in second year, when we did a history course, which is all 20th and 21st century music, we kind of felt a lot hopeful because we were going to cover a more diverse range of artists and the subject matter was going to be more in depth, and ended up predominantly studying just the classical music of that period, contemporary classical music.
So you didn't really met your expectations, you really wanted modern music and it was not taught, right?
Basically, yeah, until third year. And it was weird because first and second year, first year especially, I was kind of like, I'm really not enjoying this. I kind of want to change degree or go somewhere else because I'm really not enjoying it. And then in third year I had a really incredible time, mainly because they introduced 2 new courses that I did. One was British popular music from the 60s to the present day, but it wasn't like a chronological thing. It was talking about race and gender and sexuality and things. And then also a post-colonial course. It was called Decolonising the Year. We did like post-colonial studies and sound studies, and that was basically the stuff I'd wanted to do this whole time in my degree, but not been able to do yet. It felt really amazing and gave quite a lot of freedom. Because I had not enjoyed first and second year so much, I just said to myself, third year I'm just going to do everything that I enjoy the most, and in all the courses where I get more choice, like dissertation or composition or something, I'm just going to do exactly what I want to do, be as outrageous as that can be. Yeah, I ended up enjoying it a lot more.
You mentioned the music department also doesn't listen to the feedback of the students that you give, and it's quite slow in terms of like adjusting themselves towards like young generation and getting like modern views, which I encounter as well in the physics department. Can you talk a bit about that?
I had friends who were the kind of student representatives in the music department. They kind of go to meetings and stuff.
Like me.
Yeah, exactly. And they said it was a lot of talking about things for a very long time and not getting anything done and kind of disagreeing on the minutiae of things. But then when concerns were actively raised by the students, they kind of were not treated as seriously. So the faculty is currently undergoing a massive reform and they're trying to change the tripos completely. In the first draft of that was ideal that had been put forward by some people of like, this would be an amazing music course, this is what it could be. Very interdisciplinary, you can take papers from other subjects, it's really exciting. And the faculty were like, absolutely not. It's not because it's easy, because it's not easy at all. In fact, I mean, part of it is they haven't hired the staff over the years who can do those things and do more progressive contemporary source material. Because they don't have the staff, that means that they don't get a reputation for those things. So then people who are interested in things don't come to apply or don't want to work there because it's not as good for their thing. Yeah, so there's partly that, and also there's a perception that studying contemporary music, more popular music, is less intellectual or less important, which kind of stems from many things like colonialism and everything. It's called a kind of deeply rooted, has been created over centuries of studying music, because music is a surprisingly old subject.
What are the main points that you think that are problematic in music department that are still there? Do you like meet sexism and like racism in music department? Do they work on that?
Yeah, so in terms of the makeup of the faculty, there's very few women, especially in the kind of lecturing or teaching capacity. Like most of the female identifying people working in the music faculty are administration staff. That's partially, again, from not creating an environment which is open. Almost no people of colour. It's probably the whitest. I think that's a problem that Cambridge has in general.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of was able to talk to some members of staff about it, but it was not discussed openly, not discussed on courses until these ones I did in third year. For example, in this 20th and 21st century history paper we had in second year, there are so many opportunities for talking about lots of these issues, and lots of composers that were discussed who were gay, or women who could have been talked about that would have been really important to include on the course but just completely ignored. So the makeup of the faculty is kind of reflected in the student body as well. I mean, it's improved a bit over the past 3 years. So it's not just the course, but it's how that has implications for who applies, who works there, and it kind of just creates a culture that replicates itself over and over.
What about the teaching style? Do you really feel like you get a lot out of lectures? How is the support on the lectures, on supervision? Are people who are teaching you actually like not PhD students but professionals?
I think it's slightly different in music than physics, because we have lectures, but the bulk of the like actual teaching or learning happens in supervisions. I mean, the lecturers have varied in, you know, style and quality, but I think that's just going to happen everywhere. There's lots of academics who are very good at research but not very good at communicating with people. But yeah, a lot of the supervisors I had were PhD students or slightly younger people in the faculty, and they, on the whole, were really good actually.
Okay.
Had much better support from them than more senior members. I think I wasn't prepared for how intense it was, but also that one thing that a lot of people found difficult is that there was this assumption that you kind of were already able to do stuff. In first year, you weren't already expected to know everything, but you're expected to be able to write an essay or have a kind of basic understanding of harmony in the same way that they were teaching it. There's a lot of prior knowledge or writing in a certain style that was never officially taught to us. A lot of these skills that were kind of pre-assumed for you to have are skills that are taught far more widely in kind of elite private schools, fee-paying schools, boarding schools, which are kind of predominantly all men as well. It meant that in first year, only 8 people got a first, and they were all men.
Wow.
And all went to private school. It's tricky because it is just there, like it replicates itself, but no one talks about it in that way.
Cool. And can you like tell me in summaries the good points and bad points about music department and the advice to students who are applying to music at Cambridge?
Firstly, I'd say if you want to go there, you should try as much as you can, because one, it is changing a lot. In the 3 years that I did my undergrad, atmosphere in the music faculty changed a lot, and there were a lot of new faces coming in, a lot of new teachers, new students who had very different attitudes, and I think it is in a process of change, and I think to be in the department at that time is really interesting and kind of inspiring. And I also think if you're really passionate about what you want to do, you will find a way to do it. And for me, even coming to Cambridge, it wasn't about the degree, just the degree, it was about everything that came with it. It was about having the theatre opportunities and the performance opportunities and kind of the general atmosphere that I just liked when I came for an open day. If you want to go there, you can make it your own as much as possible, and I kind of found that I was able to do that, especially in third year. There are still a lot of problems with the music faculty, as there are with any faculty, but I think there's a lot of biases and kind of value judgments made which need to be rectified. Another big thing that you don't know anything at all about before you apply is that the college you're at really dictates, with music specifically, the opportunities you get in different ways. So my college, Girton, had an amazing director of studies, and he was so supportive, found really good supervisors for us, and really tried hard to get good teaching. I know other people had a lot worse experience with that, but then similarly it's a very poor college in comparison. So some other colleges have amazing musical resources, have wonderful free performance spaces that you can book, they have instruments, they have recording studios, they have literally anything, and we'll also have funds for you to use money to put on your own things, whereas Girton couldn't afford to do that, so I kind of had to be more resourceful, which I guess teaches you something in a way. But see if you can talk to people at the college you'd want to apply to about what it's like there, because music, it seems to have even more impact than other subjects, just because physically you need resources to do lots of the things you want to do. So teaching culture needs to change, but it is changing. It's just taking time. There are some like really amazing, inspiring people kind of trying to make the change in the music faculty. So I kind of latched onto those people and tried to talk to them as much as possible. I found the music library was very well stocked for some things and very badly stocked for other stuff, and I think that will hopefully change as well. But I ended up getting most of my books out from English or the anthropology library or the university library. If you want to do music and you know the kind of things you're interested in, or if you don't know but you kind of have an inkling, you will find people who also feel the same way as you. Team up with those people. I remember in like the first few weeks in first year where we had a group chat with, there was like 4 of us who were all very disillusioned and wanted to change things, but you know, and those people ended up becoming some of my best friends, and we ended up doing projects together, and you find ways to be resourceful and start making the culture that you want to see. Cambridge in general is a very inspiring place to be, both in how it inspires you to change and
stretch yourself.
Yeah, it can be inspiring because they're also amazing people and you kind of want to be like them, but it's also inspiring in the sense that you can see all of the problems with it and all of the issues, and it inspires you to try and fight to change those things, you know, whether that's putting on a concert or making a YouTube video or something. So you kind of do what you need to do.
All done. Let's go to coffee shop.
Fab.